Dial Models Workshop.
Hi, it's Yeji.
And Clint.
Hey, it's Larry. You are entering Models Workshop After Hours, a modeling podcast where we talk about miniatures, model painting, and we cuss a lot. If you can be offended, we're probably going to offend you. Then you're going to laugh, and you're going to feel bad. And then we'll offend you again, and then you'll laugh again. You see the pattern. So kick out, sit back, grab your brush, grab your paints, and get ready to have some fun.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Models Workshop After Hours. This is kind of weird. It's like a US-UK connection, but not in any weird way. Okay, it's probably going to be weird, but that's just us in general. So today, it's myself and Peter on the show, the host of the UK and the US show, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what our plans are for 2019. I know 2018 was rough for both of us, actually, and
yes, it was.
What's that?
Yes, it was. It was rough.
Yeah, it was rough for both of us all the way around, and I lost focus pretty much the entire last half of 2018. You notice there was a slack in a lot of the podcasts. Well, I've finally gotten over that. I've set up a mobile studio. I'm actually in my truck right now, so if I sound a little bit not that clear, the reason is I'm literally sitting in my semi with a laptop sitting on the steering wheel, and I'm recording on my Bose headset. Now, as a bonus, I am looking at picking up, actually I already picked up a tripod that's mountable with my Yeti, and now that I have a whole new setup at home, the Yeti can turn into my travel microphone and I can carry it with me. So if I need to, if I have a little bit more of the time to than just to sit down and record something real quick, I can actually set up the Yeti, and if not, I can slap my Bose in and do a real quick recording too, because that's what I'm recording on right now is my Bose wireless headset, which I'm actually use as a monitor because there's no cords. Yay! So Peter, what have you been up to? I know you've been a little more steady on recording the UK side of things, but you and I haven't had a chance to talk in a few months.
We haven't talked in a couple of months, no.
We need to really get back on that little Friday thing that we were doing. Just the facts. I think people were really enjoying that, and I think we need to start rebooting into that. And I think we can actually make it even better now.
I think you're right. Yeah. So, as many people know, I am now back on the market, relationship-wise. And I've moved out of my old house, although I've spent more time there in the last 2 weeks than you'd expect. So I've moved into a flat, an apartment that a friend of mine has generously let me stay there until I'm back on my feet, which he's trying to sell, and God help any estate agent, any realtor that comes round, because not wanting to take the piss too much, I've taken all of my models and all of my studio gear and taken it out of the shed and basically filled up this guy's place, and it's a lot tidier now than it ever was in the shed, and I've got a clear idea of actually how much shit I've got to get on with.
You can always do that Marie Kondo or whatever it is and hold it in your hand.
Thankfully, he's got windows in the place, so I've got my
get rid of it.
Oh, I lost you there for a sec. Well,
I said you can always have it where you hold it in your hand, and if it doesn't feel special, then you get rid of it.
What are we talking about?
Oh, you haven't heard the big trend now? Marie Kondo, she's an author about how to live an uncluttered life, and one of her philosophies is you hold it in your hand, and if it doesn't spark any type of feeling in you, then you get rid of it. You know, you use it for, like, clothes. Hey, you hold this shirt. Does it register anything? If it doesn't, then you get rid of it.
Oh, God. I'd be walking around naked then, because nobody wants that.
Yeah, because a lot of us just don't give a shit about, I'd be wearing a graphic tee around. I love my graphic tees, and maybe a hoodie, but other than that, I'd look like something out of a, I'd be walking around looking like a DILF, sporting this damn, this dad bod to the extreme.
Yes. I'm in a similar way. I mean, I went and spent not very much
Oh,
money
no.
on 2 weeks worth of black T-shirts, so that every fortnight I can do a wash of T-shirts and not really have any connection to think about giving a damn about what I'm wearing that day.
So you're just one step away from going full fucking emo, my friend.
Somewhere I'm sure I've got a very long leather coat that I could wear and just guy liner it up. Yeah, perfect.
You need some black pants and some chains, and you're good to go.
I mean, life is shit, right?
I'm thinking about dyeing my hair purple here soon.
Nice. That'll suit you.
Yeah.
Which one?
Which hair?
Yeah.
The one on my head,
Oh, okay.
where I actually have hair.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be picking stuff up and waiting for it to spark some emotion at me. I'm just I'm sort of cataloguing at the minute.
Because you're just an emotionless bastard at this point.
Yes. That's
Oh, no, trust me. I totally know what you're talking about. It was like, that was the entire last half of my 2018. Between breaking my leg and then, actually, no, between my wife telling me she's divorcing me and then breaking my leg and then my ex-wife actually moving out, which made it a little bit more real. And, all of that stuff, by the end of the year, I can honestly break it down to what happened with the entire podcast thing. I know exactly what happened. Part of it was I just felt meh about miniatures in general. I was just like, I'd look at miniatures and I'd be like, I don't care. I'd see them on Facebook and it was sparking and I don't care.
Yeah.
And sadly, it's still kind of that way. I look at other people's miniatures, I'm like, oh, that's pretty, but I am needing to focus on myself right now. So I don't really focus on other people's stuff, being a little greedy for the time being. But honestly, it was also just the sense of freedom. Like, oh, I don't have to ask permission or ask if she wants to go or listen to her complain if I went somewhere or if it was someplace she didn't want to go, that type of stuff. And it was really invigorating in a way. It was kind of like, and also I may have I don't know if I overdid it, but it was 17 years of stuff to catch up on. It's like, I want to go to Kentucky and go do this. Hey, I want to go to this badass restaurant over in this town, and I went.
Good.
And it was
Good for
kind of
you.
that sense of, hey, I'm free now. I'm going to catch up. Don't get me wrong. Me and my ex, we had probably the most amicable split anybody could ever have. We were married 17 years. Translation, our lives were fully integrated and interwoven with each other, and our entire divorce decree was 3 pages long.
Wow.
Yeah. And typically, those type of divorce decrees can be freaking books by the end of it. And we walked into the judge's chambers, and we're like, "Hey, judge, we got everything handled." And Kara was like, "Yep, we got everything. We're good. We already know how we're dividing it up." And basically, it was just a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in the actual divorce decree. And other than that, I mean, we figured out how much I was going to pay her for child support. The judge was cool with it. He didn't have to do math. And so, yeah, it was like the quickest. And, I still talk to her literally every day. It's crazy. It's really weird. Because I think I talk to her more now than I did when we were married. But I don't feel obligation to talk to her. Back when we were married, I felt it wasn't obligation, but I felt the need that I needed to talk to her every day, even when I didn't. And now, we'll go 4 or 5 days without talking to each other, but then we'll go 2 weeks in a row where we talk to each other pretty much every day.
That's good.
And it's the weirdest feeling in the world. And I talked to my friends who've recently been divorced, and they are having nightmares of situations on how everything is breaking down. And it's like, wow.
Well, hopefully we can sort ourselves out in the way that you've done. I mean, it's going mostly friendly at the minute. And
Ours never went
until
ours
she
never
found
went
out that
bad.
I'd bought the boys a Gundam kit each, and then she hit the roof.
But why? Why would she get upset? The only time my ex got upset with me was during Christmas. I had extra money, and I started Christmas shopping like 3 months ahead of time. So I bought their original gifts, and then I'd be like, oh, they'd like this, and I'd buy it for them.
Yeah.
And then I see something else, oh, they'd like this, and I'd buy it for them. And she was like, are you trying to make me look like a bad parent because I can't afford the amount of gifts that you are? And I was like, no, that's not my intention at all. I see stuff, I have the extra cash, and I was like, hey, I'm going to pick it up for him. And she's like, well, that's not how it feels. And I was like, well, it's not my intention. So what I ended up doing is I bundled up some of the gifts that I bought and I gave them to her. It's like, look, here, you give them to the kids. It's not about me and you. I'm not trying to make you look like a bad parent, make me look like a great parent. It's about, this is stuff for the kids, that they're going to enjoy and they're going to like. So that blows my mind that she's all angry because that you bought him a Gundam kit. Jeez.
I know.
She's upset. Let me guess. She's upset because you're trying to make them nerds in training.
I think that's part of it. Yeah, it's and like the other day, she took one of them to see a movie, and the other one stayed with me, and we played some music on. I say on the radio, but it's not a radio. Whatever, the streaming service on Spotify. And then we switched that off and actually flipped the lid open on the piano and started playing some piano. And when I told her that we did this, she sort of looked at me and what about fucking time? I thought, why are you making it a bad thing? You've been on at me for ages to do it, and here I've had a situation where I don't have both of them on top of me, because there's no way I can teach anybody how to play a piano when the other one's kicking around.
Right.
It's impossible to try and get any one thing. I mean, doing homework is hard enough without one of them sort of leaning over and saying, that's not how you do it, or can I do it as well?
Yeah. My teammate just got here, so you may hear him in the background.
Hello.
He went out to a hobby shop. Looks like he picked up a Kill Team box.
Uh-oh.
Because we're getting into some Kill Team.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, well, he wants to get into something that's kind of on the smaller side of 40K, but he wants to get back into the entire 40K thing. And I want to do and I kind of want to do the same thing. I don't want to do a 40K army, but I want to do something that's, okay, I do want to do a 40K army, but I want to do something that's not Eldar, but I don't want to buy a full army.
Yeah.
So where I was like, hey, Kill Team's perfect, because small scale, get them knocked out. I can try anything that I want. It's like, I want to paint some Space Marines. I can go buy a squad of Space Marines and paint them. Oh, boom, Kill Team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm thinking of the same thing, because a full 40k army is just a ball ache.
Oh, awesome.
And I don't have a big table to play it on. I don't have people to play it with, and doing a little small skirmish thing that takes an hour is or less. It sounds like a perfect way to get back into things.
Yeah, and this is how it is perfect here too, because we got a couple gaming shops that are literally right down the road from us.
Yeah,
and you play this on a 24x24 space, so we can go to the break room at work and sit down in the afternoon before we roll out and play a game of Kill Team.
Yeah, and
24x24 would be
what, 2 foot by 2 foot?
I believe so.
That's one of those little $10 IKEA tables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, we could almost fold it up and play it here.
Absolutely.
The hardest part will be the terrain, and you can magnetize it where it folds up, or even add little hinges and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just really, really kind of a neat thing, and so we're both getting into it, and my roommate's going to get into it. I'll probably get my boys into it as well. That way we can, we all have these small armies we can all play, and it'll be a nice way to get everybody back into painting, everyone back into... like my teammate paints, so that's actually how I met him. Was he was a miniature painter, and I knew him from years back, and he wanted to get out of his current job field, or his previous job field, and make it where his wife could effectively not work anymore and be a stay-at-home mom because they just recently had a baby. And, I talked to him about truck driving, and he went and got a CDL, and here we are. We're driving, and he's doing pretty good. Hasn't slid off the road yet during the winter. Cussed a few people out, which is normal. I cuss people out on a daily basis, drivers.
Absolutely, it's part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
As much as honking the horn when kids in the other cars do that sort of.
Oh, I do that. If I see anybody do the fist pump, it's a...
Yeah.
I gotta.
Nice.
But
it's the law, though, isn't
it? Not law. Well, it's the unwritten law of the road. If you see a kid pumping its fist, then you definitely gotta give him a little toot of the horn.
Damn right.
But yeah, so it's pretty cool, So he paints miniatures, he does models, he does Gundams. So it's like we got a lot to talk about. He also plays Magic, which I do as well.
Oh God!
And
he's basically you.
No, he's definitely nowhere near me. He's like the mild-mannered me.
Oh my God! He's like your nice twin brother.
Yes, he's like my nice twin brother.
Right.
He's the one who's chill and relaxed without medication. Or he's the one who has to take medication to make it where he's not completely flatlined.
Well,
if you would merge him and I, you would get like two normal human nerdy beings.
I won't suggest that you go and merge tonight.
I don't think we're going to merge tonight because his wife might disagree, or at least be upset that she wasn't there for it. But everything's going good on my side. I feel I just got done. I just finished writing an article. I edited. I did a first pass edit on it, and I'll probably do another pass later on to make sure everything's flowing. I feel like it's missing something, and I just can't put my finger on it. Like there's a point that I need to make in there that I can't. For the people who are listening to this article, will probably come out before this podcast will, but it's on how Forge World is basically unneeded at this point. How they've outstayed their usefulness, and how Games Workshop should incorporate them into the main Games Workshop company. So I wrote a little article, but we were talking about in the Eldar admin area, and how we were wishing that Wasps and Hornets and Lynx and the Cobras were standard Forge or standard GW kits, because we'd love to be able to buy them easier without the ridiculous shipping from the UK, and for a more affordable price, because you're looking at some of these kits selling for $250, whereas if they were plastic they would still be expensive, but they'd be like $150, and I could go to the GW store down the road and pick it up because it was plastic. And or like the Lynxes, they might be the same price, but I could go to the GW shop and I could pick them up, versus having to mail order them from the UK and then worry about, is they're thinner resin pieces, so are they going to mispour them? How warped are they going to be? Is there air bubbles? And honestly, it just would make more sense if they would tool them into injection mold versus still hand pouring most of this. Maybe not completely kill Forge World, but take Forge World back to what it was. Boutique, expensive miniatures that are not going to see a lot of play, or people are not going to buy a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of justifying their existence at the minute by taking on specialist games. So all of the Middle-earth is Forge World now.
Does that mean... But those are going to be plastic, though. I have noticed that it seems like Forge World is getting more and more into plastics, too.
Well, I mean, the Pelennor Fields is all plastic, but I think all of the character models are now Forge World resin.
See, and that makes sense. Like, named
because
characters...
Because the stuff that was Finecast is now proper Forge World resin.
Oh, okay. And you know what? That makes sense. Before Eldrad got made into a plastic kit, him being a resin model made a hell of a lot more sense than a Hornet, which is a relatively well-played vehicle in 40k, being a resin kit.
Mm.
Because you get... what is it, 50 to 100 pours out of a resin mold before you have to replace them. And they're about $500 to replace a resin mold, or $200 to $500 to replace a resin mold plus time, versus $5,000 for a injection plastic mold. Yeah, but you can inject, if you maintain a metal mold properly, thousands upon thousands of molds out of a single mold.
That's true, and the plastic that they're putting out at the minute is of the same quality of detail that Forge World was doing years ago in resin.
Exactly.
So,
and that's what I mean.
And a lot of the shipping costs, and this is what pisses me off about Forge World, whether you buy it and send it abroad or even just pick it up at in Nottingham, is that the weight, actually you could halve the weight by not having all the damn pore holes. You have all of these giant fucking bricks of resin that are just...
I have a picture
it's like
somewhere
the resin sprue sections. And
where I had I did an assembly and paint on a Phantom Titan.
Right.
And I have a picture floating around somewhere of after I cut all the vents off of it, just the vents. And it was straight up, it had to have been 2.5 kilos of resin.
Mm-hmm. And the stuff that's actually of the model itself doesn't weigh anywhere near that.
Well, for the Phantom it did, because these pieces are huge. You're talking about a model that's like 2.5 feet tall. It's a big model, but the vents were ginormous too. I'm talking like I could have chucked these things at someone and hurt them. They were huge pieces of resin, and then you look at the plastic, which could be made hollow, which means a plastic kit. I mean, here's my philosophy. I've gotten into Gundam kits recently, last couple years. Right, they are. But you look at these Gundam kits, which they've made hundreds and hundreds of different Gundams, ranging all the way from perfect grade down to high grade or real grade. You look at this stuff and the details they're putting into this, and you kind of go, wait a second. If they can make a a perfect grade wing or a perfect grade unicorn that is bigger than almost every Titan that GW has ever put out, why can't we go ahead and make the same thing for GW? And another thing that bugs the shit out of me is your most expensive... Okay, there are a couple perfect grades that are a few $100s. But you're talking ones that are almost as big as Warlord Titans.
Yeah.
A perfect grade wing is $150, and it is much bigger and more detail and has more pieces than a Revenant Titan does, which is like $250 resin. And another thing, look at the old resin versus the new plastic. Look at a Wraith Knight versus a Revenant Titan. The Wraith Knight is so much more detailed and has so much more to it than the Revenant Titan, but the Revenant Titan's supposed to be the big premium model. What the hell?
Yeah.
And that's another thing they should do for a retool. Actually, and another thing, Games Workshop. Look at your old stuff, the stuff that you still have in from like the 90s, legitly, and let's move on. Let's bring this shit to the future. If Bandai can bring out kits for small ass stuff, maybe you should talk to them about doing your tooling. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's things like what is it? The Thunderhawk, the
Thunderhawk gunship.
The gunship, yeah. It's 300-400 pounds worth of big giant resin, and then you got the 1,000-pound. I think it's the biggest thing that they sell is the Tau Manta.
That's no longer being made, but I know what you mean.
Oh, don't they make it anymore? That's such a shame.
Because they sold like 3 of them.
Yes, absolutely. Because it was £1,000. What was the $1,200-1,300, and it was big, and it was such a cool thing, though. I mean, a
friend of mine wanted to buy one and make a table out of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not usable on any bloody game, is it?
Well, he was actually going to put a glass topper on it
Right.
and mount it to like a base and legitly use it as a table. I thought it was the neatest idea ever, and I was like,
Yeah, he could make a small profit on that, stick it on his Etsy as well.
Right. Table, $1,700.
Yeah, with small fishy people inside.
Oh, wow. It's been a while since I've been to the Forge World website. They have lowered the free delivery threshold. Free delivery is now $120. It used to be, I shit you not, like $300 to get free shipping. So now it's like, I can order one model and get free shipping versus having to order 17 different models and get free shipping. But I'm looking at the number of SKUs that they have. What the hell? Imperium, 332 different SKUs within Imperium. Space Marines is 197.
Yeah, and they've got things. They've got stuff. You know, the Forge World only chapters, like the is it the Black Scorpions or the Red Scorpions or whatever they're called.
You know, that I can almost relate to. Give them something special. But okay, here's a prime example. Shadow Spectre's Aspect Warriors. They're $50 or $64 for a squad of 5. Why can't these be tooled over to plastic? A Revenant Titan is $340. If you would make that plastic, it would be $200, and would probably look better. I can guarantee it would look better because half the shit you can transfer over from the Wraith Knight. All you gotta do is upscale it. They make it out like the CAD is really hard. Hell, there's people out there that would do it for them. Scorpion.
Yeah. And actually would stand up better than the resin, because you wouldn't have to pin and drill and fill it with JB Weld, and and you wouldn't have to sort of pour hot boiling water all over it just to reshape it because it's a fucking garage kit.
That and make the base out of fucking metal because otherwise it's too top heavy. Just like a Lynx. You can make a Lynx a $75 tank. Easy. And another thing, and this is the biggest thing, you could take the Scorpion body and make different kits just like they did with the Rhino, because in Eldar, for the people who don't know, you have different chassis types. You have the Falcon chassis, which includes Wave Serpents and everything else because it uses the base Falcon chassis. And GW does, Space Marines have the same thing with the Rhino, where you have the Rhino, but then they add stuff to it and it becomes a different vehicle.
Yeah, and you have the same with Tau as well, with the Piranha. And the same. I think almost every army has this. Well, we also, in our Super Heavy line, and same with Space Marines, or Imperium, I should say, in their Super Heavy line, they've got the Bane Blade, and then they have all the Bane Blade variants. Well, we have a Scorpion, and then we have... Right now, there's a Scorpion and a Cobra, which are both based off the same thing. If you put them side by side, they're the same length. The fins are the same. The gun is different. But there's 2 unpublished ones currently. There's one that has a Death Spinner, and there's another one that has a portable web gate. And if they would retool these kits, they're $245, knock them down to like $150 a piece. And I love them. Like you give them to me at $150, I'll buy a couple more because I love the Scorpion chassis. I always have. It's one of my favorite. But you could easily add plastic kits or even resin kits. How about that? Why don't we make where Forge World is fulfilling its old role and providing us upgrade kits for current kits, such as the Scathwatch Wraithonite with Dust Shroud cannons. Kaboom! There we go. They're upgrade kits that you buy to add to plastic kits. Yeah, the Rhino doors, the shoulder pads. I've got a bunch of metal ones, but I've also got some Forge World. I think for my Space Wolves, the upgrade kits for them.
Exactly. Like the Wraithseer Titan, it's the same way. You get it's the plastic kit, but you have like a special gun, a special head, and a special spear.
Yeah, and I've got
special.
I've got one of the what are they called? Jesus, it's been a while since I've even looked at it. It's the Tau mech, the medium-sized sort of walker that they've got, and there's a Forge World upgrade. Bigger than the standard battlesuit, but it's the Arvana battlesuit, I think, and then there's the Forge World version of it, which it's a half plastic kit and half resin kit, because it's basically...
Is it the XV109?
You
Oh,
carry
yeah,
on, I'll have a
Rivara.
look.
It's the Rivarna.
It is the Arvana, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that, and I haven't built it yet, but yeah, it's the legs are plastic, the body is plastic, but the head, the guns, the add-ons are all resin.
You know what's funny? I own one Forge World or Tau model.
All right.
And it's the frickin' 2-ton NAR Supremacy Army body.
Cool.
I guess it's cool. Well, it's out of stock. Huh. I should probably order the guns for it. I don't have the arms or the big gun that goes on his head yet.
Yeah, that's the thing that's always pissed me off about Forge World is you want... fucking hell. You can tell I haven't slept very much recently. So you have to buy different types of arms, you have to buy different types of legs, and they sell them separately. You don't, and they don't give you any sort of prescribed this. You need this plus that plus that plus that, and there's no bundle to be made to get a full thing. You have to have bought the book, which then gives you all the different things, and then you have to research it, and then you have to go through all those steps, and then you have to buy the body, and then you have to buy the legs. And you have to know what you're doing when you're ordering it, otherwise you get 3/4 of a model.
No, I knew I wasn't ordering the arms because the body itself is 200, and the arms and the top gun together are all like another 200. So I bought it, and I'm just like, giggity. Because I've always loved that model. I really have. And it's the closest I think the Tau will ever get to having a Titan. So I was like, let me, I'm going to pick this up because I can. I got a little bit extra cash floating around. Went ahead and picked it up. And
I mean, they've got something that's close to a Titan in Standard Games Workshop, the Ghost Keel. That thing's huge.
Oh, no, not compared to this thing, dude.
Oh, really?
The one that I have is fucking ginormous.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a picture floating around of everything standing next to each other. It's the size of a Warhound Titan. It's big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's real big. And it's cool too. You only have like 3 gun options, but you can basically make it a long range support, a medium range, or a short range. Or no, it's long or medium. Or you can mix it. But yeah, it's a beast. I love the way it looks. That was the main reason why I got it. I just loved the way it looks, and I was like, man, I gotta have this thing.
Well, maybe when I've got my proper place of my own with all of the posters that I want to glue on the wall, I'll start getting some big Titan things for my Tau army. Although I doubt I'll have a Tau army by that point. One of my it's one of my wife's friends, my ex-wife's friends. I don't know what to call her anymore. One of her friends, her son is he plays. Well, he doesn't play. He buys Warhammer and paints it. He's not into playing at the minute. He's about 12 or 13. And the other day he was down at the shop. He'd spent, by the sounds of things, about 150 quid of his pocket money on the Tau Get Started box, a bunch of other stuff, God knows what else, and a case, one of the new cases to put it all in. And then he and his friends were down at McDonald's, and he had the thing under the table, and somebody stole it without him noticing. I don't know how the hell it got taken from him without him noticing, but he got up and it was all gone.
What the hell?
Yeah, so I mean, I've just fished out all of my Tau stuff and said, well, I'm gonna give him some of it so he can get cracking and painting with some old plastic and metal. And if he wants to play the things, then there's a couple of squads of Fire Warriors that I painted 10 years ago, and
Nice.
so I'm not doing anything with them. I've got them on eBay at the minute, but nobody's interested in them. So fuck it, I'll give them to somebody, to some kid who can play with them.
Right. And that's
As long as he doesn't take them anywhere to get them fucking nicked. But yeah, apparently the store manager is really decent about it, and he's gonna see if he can get him a discount on some other bits to replace the things, and see if there's other bits, some old stuff floating around that he can just have, and so everybody's sort of trying to help out, because it really sucks. I mean, who the hell goes and steals a child's Warhammer?
right.
What kind of fucking nutter are you to... you either know the value of it, and it's something you're interested in which case you know everything that goes into needing to save up for this thing, or you're just stealing it for the sake of stealing it, and you're gonna chuck it when you get around the corner because it's worth nothing to you.
Yeah, have them check all the dumpsters in the nearby area.
Yeah. Oh, this is weird. I was listening to a podcast today, and I found out something that completely floored me. New York has no alleyways.
So what?
So every movie that you've ever watched, every TV show, police TV show that you've ever seen, it's all about in movies with restaurants and things set in New York. There's always people going out the back door of things, alleyways, dead bodies in alleyways, police chases down alleyways. There are maybe 12 alleyways in the whole of New York City, and only one of them is in a public area, and it's the one you see in every single film and TV show.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, and apparently when this location scout takes directors to see it, they say, "This is perfect. This is exactly what I had in mind." And he's going in his head, he's saying, "Of course, it's what you had in mind. It's the only one that ever gets used for filming, so it looks exactly like every other one that gets used for filming because it's only this one." So it's 100% what you had in mind because it's the one you saw in Spider-Man. It's the one you saw in Law and Order. It's just this fucking street. It's one alleyway that we use every other week for filming in.
I legitimately did not know that. That is freaking hilarious.
I laughed so hard when I heard that. And apparently half of New Yorkers don't even realise there are no alleyways. They just take it for granted that what they're watching on TV is real. And then in their daily lives, they don't ever take any alleyways because they don't need the shortcuts. And also, there aren't any. So yeah, when you said dumpsters, that just that triggered. Yeah, I don't think we've got any alleyways down near where this all happened.
Yeah, we got alleyways all over my town.
Yeah, whereas apparently Chicago has about 2,000 miles worth of alleys.
Right.
So that's perfect for Bruce Wayne's parents to get shot. That's legit possible, but Spider-Man throwing his Spidey suit into the trash down the alleyway, not so much, because that was that one alleyway. And the likelihood that he could have thrown that in the trash there was very, very small, because there would have been a film crew shooting Law and Order down there. They would have seen him.
Yeah, exactly. He'd have found the dead body. The 17 dead bodies that are always in that alleyway.
You see, now I've got the seed of a weird story there. It's the Spider-Man goes to do this, but he can't do it because it's this one location that everybody else is there, so everybody's congregating, and it's like this big merging of this hyper reality all down this one alleyway.
So,
if I can be bothered, I'll write it down later. Anyway, yeah, back to regular programming.
Well, that was actually a pretty interesting factoid. I had no idea. I kind of want to go to New York and drive around and go, where's the fucking alleys?
Where's these fucking alleyways, yeah.
Oh, man. Now, all right, so what are your plans with the UK side of things? And for you personally, within the year 2019, what are some of the things that you want to get done? Not resolutions, just stuff you'd like to start working towards.
Stuff I'd like to start working towards. I want to finish more projects, not leave so many hanging in midair. I want to get some games underway, start playing a bit more.
Yeah.
I started last year a little bit with Age of Sigmar 2, and that sort of fizzled out towards the end of the year. But, I'd like to get back into that. Obviously, we talk about it all the time, but we've got Hellboy coming in a couple of months from Kickstarter. And so even if I don't have anybody to play that with, it's a single player game, if you want it to be. So I can always just, as they say, play with myself.
But don't you do that enough already?
Well, is there ever enough?
No.
So there's that. We've got I've got the Dungeons and Doggies turning up before the summer, and the Nuns with Laser Guns and all the what do they call it? The Chronicles of Run from Scale 75. The stuff that I ordered from that. So I've got enough Kickstarter shit from last year arriving this year that'll. I'm pretty much going to ignore Kickstarter this year if I can help it, because it's an endless pit of shiny.
Yeah, I wish I totally could do that. I am already 500 deep in the Kickstarter, on one Kickstarter.
Was that the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But to be fair, I've been planning on backing that Kickstarter for about 2 years now, about a year since it was announced. So, and I might downgrade my pledge. I'm still debating, because I honestly can't say that I think the $500 one is worth it. It's everything you get. Okay, so there's a 250, which you get 2 games, 2 expansions, a whole bunch of individual miniatures, the stuff that's randomly Kickstarter exclusive. Then for the $500 package, so the difference between the $250 and the $500 one is the $500 one has 4 character cards that are hand drawn by Kevin Eastman.
Okay, yeah.
Like, really neat, really cool, but is it $250 cool? So right now,
how much would you pay for one of those when you go to some Comic-Con?
I don't know, but okay, as much as I love Laird and Eastman is a signature whore. Like, I have so much shit signed by Eastman, it's not even funny. When I first heard it was 4 sketches, I thought it was going to be like 4 sketches on like A1 or A2 paper or whatever, A4.
Right, but it's not. It's business card sketches, is it?
No, they're actually the game cards. Well, yeah, so they're like 3x5s.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, I was like, because I was like, oh, cool, I'll get 4 sketches and I can get them framed. That was my mindset. But no, they're the game cards, and I was like, well, like, if they'd have taken the exact sketches that are on those game cards, maybe blow them up a little bit and make them where they're frameable, I'd be all over it. Because then I could be like, I hang them on the wall and be like, awesome. But they're game cards and would look dumb as shit framed. And I'm like, so I locked in the pledge, but I am 90% sure, 95% sure before the end of the Kickstarter, I'm going to release it and just go back to the standard 250, because there wasn't an early bird. There wasn't any of that. It was just either the 250. The only limited edition one is the Eastman stuff, and it's limited to 50. And I'm going to make sure to announce it that I'm releasing it so someone can go and get it, because because it is limited edition, and I know people do. There are people out there that didn't get it that want it, and I completely respect that. And I'm just personally not all that enthralled with it. I'd rather take the 250 and go to the Eastman website, wait for a sale, and actually order a hand-drawn something from Eastman. I think that would be better suited. But that's the only Kickstarter. No, that's a lie, because there's a Ninja Turtle. There's a Munchkin board game coming out from Cool Mini and Steve Jackson Games, and I think it's sometime this year, but I think it's towards the end of the year, that I will be backing as well.
Fair enough.
But
yeah, there's a couple of model kits, sort of big things that are coming out towards the end of the year that I'm in two minds, but kind of think I really want. And one of them is Peter Jackson's company, Wingnut Wings, have brought out, or are bringing out, a 32nd scale Dam Busters Lancaster. This thing's a meter long and a meter wide.
Oh wow!
And it is the most detailed version of the Dam Busters plane that you'll ever find.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Of course, I've got nowhere to put the damn thing, so that's why I'm thinking maybe not. But
you go to IKEA. That's a trip at IKEA, and you get one of those little display shelves.
What, and move in?
Oh, I mean, he's trying to sell it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm kind of doing the same. I did kind of laugh, because the reason I laughed is I would like to finish a project at this point. This point, I'm not even. I don't care if it's tons of them. I just want a model. But I'm actually going to be working on probably the original Ninja Turtles board game, because a lot of those miniatures can be carried over. That way, whenever I get the new stuff, even though the new stuff does look better, we covered that in episode 105. That's currently not out yet, but will be out by the time this thing comes out. Where Yeji and I sit down and talk. The miniatures do look better in the new one, but there was a whole bunch of drama about it. And it's like, whatever.
Right.
And so I'll probably be, that's I think one of the first things I'm going to be working on is the Ninja Turtles, because I have a passion for Ninja Turtles and a passion for painting, and I'm going to get a little studio set up upstairs where I can have a table and work on stuff up there. Just to get back into it. And also I have a new philosophy on painting. And I realized this when I was doing some test painting on stuff. I airbrushed something real quick, and it was literally meant to be a color theory, just to test out a color theory, and then I was going to reprime the model and actually work on it. And everyone was applauding it. It got a ton of likes, it got a ton of comments, it got a ton of everything, and I'm just like, what? Okay. I did this in 10 minutes. And I've just made the realization. I didn't make the realization then, but I made the realization now is, do I want to paint for the 98, or let's even say the 99%, or do I want to paint for the 1%? Because how many people out there see a miniature and nitpick and critique it unless they have to? If I go, hey, Peter, can you look at this model and tell me what's wrong? You'll go over it a little bit better. But if I go, hey, Peter, look at this miniature I did, you'll look at it and be like, oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And
that's what I mean. I'm going to paint for the 99%. And not the 1%. I'm going to paint for the people who will just look at something that I did in an hour or two and be like, that is amazing. versus taking 40 hours on a miniature, getting burned out by the project, and only 1% of my friends list are even going to notice the differences between, the work that I did in the first 2 hours and the work that I did in the last 38 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the stress of, unless you do want the stress of competition entries.
Well, that's different.
But you want to finish
different.
That's different. But if you're doing stuff to plow through, get things done, make them look good for playing the game and enjoying the game at a better level, then not everything needs to be display.
Yeah, I need to personally work on finishing stuff. I've got tons of projects that I'm halfway through, and even the stuff that I'm halfway done with, most people would look at and be like, wow, I could send you a picture of a miniature right now that I'm halfway done with. And more than likely, you would probably be like, whoa, that's pretty badass, man. Yeah. Most of my friends...
Stick it done.
Yeah, most of my friends... Yeah, you'd probably be like, well, it's done. Now, honestly, what needs to be done is like, there's still some color that needs to be filled in. I need to finish its eyes for it to be even base done. But that's the type of thing. You've seen my shaman, haven't you? The goblin shaman that I got from George T.
I'm not sure that I have.
My guy over in Greece? You haven't? Okay.
I might have, but
the one that glows
my
under
memory's
black
not very
light.
good at the minute.
Have you seen the one that glows under black light?
Yes.
That one. That one's not. Done. Could I quote unquote finish it pretty quickly? Yeah, I could, and that's what I need to do. I was originally going to take that piece to competition, but I honestly, I've spent too much time away from it, and I think if I'm going to do a bust for competition, I'll do one of my other busts that I have of his. Like I have one that's a rogue, and it's a little bit larger. And if anything, I think I'm going to take that one to competition because I think it'll honestly push me a little harder because it's got a lot of leather. So I'd have to figure out how to do a nice worn, dyed leather look. And but it's a goblin, so it has some really cool skin. I can do some real cool model green skin tones. But
yeah,
I think I'm going to wrap up the shaman. Just say it's done. Finish the last couple things that are not painted on it, and maybe touch up the eyes a little bit to actually make him have eyes, and just put it up, and just say it's done. Give me something so when my friends come over, I can be like, "This is what I do. Look at my display case. Here's a couple pieces."
Yeah, and I mean, I look at everything that I've started and everything that I haven't finished, and it can be almost overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Because there's, a hobby butterfly or whatever you want to call it, hobby OCD or ADD or whatever, and it's see a shiny thing, pick it up, start it, put it aside when the next shiny thing comes, and then suddenly you've got this mountain of unfinished stuff. And then finishing any of it is like, but where the fuck do I start?
That's the hard thing.
But it doesn't matter. You just pick something and do it.
And that's what I want to start doing
when it's done. Exactly, and it's just getting over yourself. And I'm not talking about you. I'm just in general getting over ourselves, and just almost blindly grabbing something out of the unfinished pile and saying, "Okay, yeah, this one looks good."
That's kind of also what I want to do. I just want to go over and go, you know what? Here's this kit that I haven't worked on. I'm going to go ahead and sit down with it, get it good to go, and paint it.
Yeah, because the only way to finish it is to actually get on with it.
I love it. My teammates trying to be oh so quiet. You're just sitting there.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've got planned for 2019. I want to I look back at my own blog from last year, and I literally only wrote one piece. Mm-hmm. And so I want to write a bit more this year. I want to jump back into the YouTube saddle and start finding my own corner of what I want to do with that. And I don't care about monetization. I just, or subscriber numbers or anything like that. I think I just want to enjoy doing it. I might take a leaf out of Simon's book. Simon, Scale Model Jedi, who's on the UK podcast. He's still building. He's not been doing so much over the last few months. He's been feeling a bit down, and it just hasn't felt the need to build anything. His numbers on his YouTube channel were sort of steadily declining. So he started a new channel where he is playing a farming simulator game on his PC. So he literally just drives combine harvesters, tractors, and he screen captures the whole thing, speeds it up, does a time lapse, so you get a 10-minute video of a day in the life of this particular farm map.
My son plays that game.
Yeah, well, he, on YouTube last month, by the sounds of things, he earned more in that 1 month on YouTube revenue than he did the whole year from his other hard-working, paying attention to all the details, trying to be really careful with it, modelling channel. So he's enjoying doing it, and he's getting some sort of, farm therapy from it. And he's feeling a bit better about it. So and he's earning money. So maybe I should look at doing something that's completely unrelated to anything I've ever done. That people would just be interested in watching.
Yeah,
like maybe
knitting. And I've thought about doing the podcast. I mean, okay, so I get it. Some people watch the podcast or listen to the podcast because they want painting advice, and we do give painting advice. But a lot of people also listen to the podcast because we're funny and we make them laugh and we tell jokes. And I'm thinking maybe next year actually doing a video. And I've already started setting it up. I got another computer that handles video. I've got other cameras. And that's something that I kind of want to do too, is possibly take the podcast to video for that exact reason. Because, sorry, but one of the biggest modeling YouTubers out there who does stuff with trains and miniatures and everything, Luke Towan, he may get 20,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas...
Is this Luke APS?
No. It's another Luke.
No.
Luke APS only
Luke.
gets a couple thousand views. And he's everywhere. Right. It's kind of like...
Yes, he is.
Wow, I look at this and I become more and more disenfranchised with the entire miniature painting side of things, because I could literally go and hook my Elgato up to my Xbox and just start randomly streaming. No, even better. I could take my laptop take my desktop, hook my laptop up to the Elgato and have everything kind of wired that way, and start streaming Magic the Gathering Arena, one of the new games out there, and probably make up better money than I would ever doing this stuff on Games Workshop. On miniatures and models, and that's sad. I mean, it took me 3 years before I made my first $100 off of Google, and I have several videos that have 40-some thousand views. But I don't go for 10 minutes. I don't do all this other stuff because you don't need to. I don't try to fluff my videos. Maybe I need to do 3 minutes of actual good information and add 10 minutes of some music at the end of it. So it goes, or 7 minutes of music. So it's 10 minutes long, but it has all the good info up front, because that's almost what you have to do nowadays. And it's...
Yeah, and you spend the first minute thanking all the new subscribers and patrons, and then you spend the last 5 minutes reading out everybody's name who's donated to you that month.
Something.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this recurring on different channels that I watch, and some of them do it more creatively than others, and then you end up with this sort of reality TV style of, and coming up in this episode, we do this, and then by the time you finish that sentence, then you actually start doing it, and you then end up with 5 minutes worth of content, but it's taken an hour to say it, and
yeah. See,
as much as that brings in extra viewing minutes, I don't see that as true to the audience that really wants to see the thing.
Holy crap, one of my videos actually got me contacted by a dude in Jordan who wanted airbrush advice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
and he contacted you?
Yeah, he saw one of my videos on YouTube on setting up the TC848 air compressor, and he blasted me with a message, was like, hey, I need some help because I want to do like carnival tattooing with airbrush, and he was wanting to have ideas with like what equipment to buy, what compressor to buy, what airbrushes to buy, and we talked for a couple hours. And
wow.
Cool. It was really neat. And that's the type of stuff that I look forward to. The people who actually, some people I don't think realize that when we say, hey, we love it when people contact us, we're not bullshitting. We really do. We really enjoy when we get people reaching out to us to talk with us about modeling, about if you have questions, if you have advice, if you have this type of stuff. And I would love if my videos all got 40,000 views and I can make a few $100s extra a month off my YouTube so I could actually supplement Models Workshop more. I'm going to have to go be a little bit more creative on the Models Workshop side of things, or on the miniature side of things. But it's... I don't know. I like to help people. And that's, the main reason why it's like, why aren't you sponsored? Because I was like, okay, let me ask you a question. If I go, hey, buy this I'm sponsored by Badger. Hey, you should buy a Patriot 105. Versus, hey, I'm not sponsored by anybody, and I go, hey, you should buy the Patriot 105.
One of them you can believe, and the other one you call bullshit because it got paid for. So, yeah, anytime you get sponsorship within your own hobby, you lose credibility.
Yeah. Yeah, but on the same...
what you need is you want to be sponsored by a lawnmower or something that has nothing to do with the hobby that you're in.
Yeah, like you could go to bit.ly After Hours Audible and sign up for your free Audible subscription and pick out any of the great books that are out there to listen to while you're painting.
Like The Lawnmower Man. Which is a book. And keeps me back on the thing I was trying to say earlier. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and we are sponsored by Audible, and I don't use it as much as I really should now.
Oh, I
because
still
I
use it all the
took
time.
my free thing and then I cancelled it.
Oh, see, I'm over 500 books now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I start earning a bit more, I can start throwing some money at books. And that's something else I want to do this year, is actually start reading, whether it's Audible or actual, what are those things you hold, paper books?
Yeah, I think they still make those.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe I should start putting my eyes and my brain into some old-fashioned traditional use and start turning some pages and getting some information in there that isn't 280 characters long. Because my reading at the minute is scrolling through Twitter and Facebook, and while that is technically it's reading, it's not really, is it?
No. I get caught in endless loops of watching random YouTube or Facebook pictures or videos. It's like,
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I want to write more this year. I want to do more videos. I want to read, for myself, and not just reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid with my kids, because that's not helping my own sanity in any way at all.
You know what we should do? We should start a Models Workshop book club.
Oh, interesting.
We pick a book, like you and I get together, we pick a book, and then we put it out for everyone to get. And over the course of a month, we read it. And then at the end of it, we discuss, we get feedback from some of our users, our listeners, and then me and you, during one part of our podcast, we talk about the book for the month.
I like it. That sets goals and gamifies the reading process, because it's the 21st century and we need incentives to do this sort of thing.
Right. We can do everything from I would say the Horus Heresy books, but holy shit, they're $17, and I'm not talking the Audible version. I'm talking the freaking written Kindle edition is $17. Mm-hmm. It's like, no.
Yeah, I've got the first one in paperback, and I've got the PDF or the iBooks version of it as well.
Right.
And I think I've read the first chapter on both formats.
It's actually a really, really good.
Yeah, and I'm trying to find it within myself to care enough about reading the plight of these super beings and their emperor. I don't know. It didn't grab me straight away, and I think maybe because it didn't grab me straight away, I realised that maybe 40k or 30k isn't actually all that interesting to me, and it's almost me having to say it out loud. I don't love 40k, and that maybe that's okay for me to not love 40k.
Yeah, there's plenty of options now.
Oh yeah, I know, and I'd like to play it. I would like to play it, I think, except that every time I've played it, I've felt nothing. Yeah, but as you say, there are options. There are 1,000,001 other games. And like, Kill Team, that sounds a bit more interesting because it's not this giant rule set. It's just a small little thing. Mm-hmm. And then maybe I can build, find some enthusiasm for that and build on it. And I love the idea of a 40k campaign, of a sort of almost a role-play situation where you can take an epic kind of story and you can play the in-space epic Battlefleet Gothic type space war, and then you can throw down and have a large campaign in a 40k kind of thing, and then focus in on just these skirmishes, and then zoom back out and keep doing a campaign like that. But the reality of it is like reading Lord of the Rings. In theory, I love it. But in reality, it took me 10 years to read the first half of Fellowship because it's so fucking boring.
I have tried 6 times to read Lord of the Rings. I've read The Hobbit. I enjoyed The Hobbit. and
Yep.
I've
I've read
tried
The Hobbit
6
when I was
times.
10. Yeah, I can't get through Lord of the Rings. The only way I've actually managed to get through it was by getting the audiobooks.
Oh, I've tried the audiobooks.
And-
They drove me nuts even more than trying to read it does. And
I loved the audiobook. The one read by Rob Inglis. Because he does all the songs, he does voices, he acts the whole thing out. And on my old commute to work, I used to just listen to it, and
yeah,
it got me to work and back a lot.
I can narrow it down to a single thing. I know why I can't get into the Lord of the Rings books. Tom fucking Bombadil.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Exactly. I absolutely.
And his milfy wife.
Yeah, every time I get to that part, I turn it off or I close the book. It drives me absolute batshit insane. The entire Tom Bombadil bullshit. I'm just like, fucking done. Can't do it. Nope.
You see, the bit that gets me is the singing about every footstep.
It's the singing period. And honestly, if you watch Clerks too, I think Kevin Smith hit it kind of on the nose. It's a book about walking. What did they do?
Okay.
They walk. All three books. It's all about fucking walking. It's that in that book.
Yep.
In that book, it's so much about walking. Even the trees fucking walk.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I love the idea of the history of it. And all these layers that Tolkien wrote about where everybody came from and where they were going and why these things were happening and the politics and the and all just the whole world building that he really did quite nicely for the time that he did it. Except that he does it in the most unengaging way for me. Because the history is all in these fucking songs while they're walking.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody I've spoken to says just skip the songs. And yeah, okay, I could skip the songs, but then I'm missing the history. But then I'm not enjoying that, but then I'm not learning about the history.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was I skipped the whole thing. and watched the movies because that was much more entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that is
read
the
way.
Hobbit.
Read The Hobbit. Don't watch The Hobbit. Read The Hobbit because the Hobbit movies are not very good. So read The Hobbit and watch The Lord of the Rings.
That's funny. Oh boy.
Yeah. So in terms of UK podcast 2019 goals, I want to get more guests. We started out strong last year. We had 3 or 4 different guests. We had a fantastic celebrity guest with Ronnie Renton, and then Silly Bugger didn't actually hit record on his side, so we didn't have him as a guest. So we had to bin our entire conversation, and then what we got was the last 6 minutes, and that's what he recorded. So if anybody listening to this now, if you haven't already, go and listen to, I think it's episode 3 of the UK podcast from around March, April, May, somewhere around then. So what we ended up doing there was reconvening everybody that had been on that podcast, chatting to him. 3 or 4 days later, we basically re-recorded the whole thing without him and talked about what we had said the few nights before, and went over everything that he'd said and how we remembered him having said it, about their upcoming projects and the Hellboy project and all the stuff that we asked him about, the production schedules and things like that. And then we played the last 6 minutes of the recording that he gave us. So that was our celebrity guest, which failed miserably. But then I think a week later we had Russ Charles, who was pushing his Dungeons and Doggies.
I was actually on that
Kickstarter,
podcast,
which was great. Yes, you were on that podcast. That's right. But since then, we haven't had any guests. I don't think. I mean, you've guested a couple of times, but you don't really count because this is your thing. So we've actually had a couple of people that say they want to come on. I think Michael from Rabbit Dog Studios wants to come and say hey. So why not?
Yeah, that's what I kind of want to do too. You know, I'm going to all 4 days of Adepticon this year. I've already bought the tickets, already got the
Awesome.
hotel room lined up, and we're going to go up there. And one day is probably almost going to exclusively be me walking around with my voice recorder, or possibly my Yeti on a stick with a laptop in my backpack. Probably the Tascam, because that came out pretty damn clear. And just go around and record interviews. You know, one day of going to everything that's miniature related that I can see and going, hey, do you want to talk about your company? And sit down, talk about them. My friends will be with me, so one person could sit there and take the pictures for me and keep track of what interview number versus what pictures they are, and contact information, and just do a whole episode of. It'll be a special episode of After Hours Adepticon. You know, it won't be an official After Hours. It'll be like a bonus episode where it's all these different interviews where we sit down, and I'm going to try to get Ronnie and all of them and some of the big fish as well to sit down and talk. You know, maybe I can get Duncan. I talked to Duncan. But
Did you?
Yeah, I got a picture with Duncan. He's a cool guy. He really is like super cool.
Yeah.
And people make fun of him, but honestly, he targets a demographic that's not us. I mean, his job is to teach the noobs,
beginners.
He's there for the noobs, you know. So you want to might want to make fun of him for some of the stuff he says, and and it's I've done it a couple things.
Oh, he makes fun of himself,
right?
Though,
right.
They keep doing those little mini movies of where Duncan turns up and talks about doing too thin coats.
My favorite thing that I've ever seen that plays into the entire too thin coat thing was, "Hey Duncan, it's going to be cool today. Should I wear one heavy jacket or two thin coats?" That one just tickled the shit out of me when I saw it. But Duncan, he's a great guy, and he doesn't have an easy job because, let's face it, a lot of us can be real assholes.
Oh God, yeah.
And then
the internet is built from cats and cunts,
right? And
and the cats can't type.
Exactly. They just got their picture taken. But I talked to Mini Wargaming Jay at Adepticon last year, and he was going through some personal stuff, and hopefully he was actually very interested in doing some collaboration projects. So maybe we can get him on the podcast and
cool, yeah,
and maybe do some video collaborations with each other. And just like you said, I want to do Adepticon. I want to give people, if I can record enough interviews to literally have to do 3 special shows just to do all the interviews, then awesome. If I can grab some authors that are there and sit down with them and talk to them for an hour apiece, or if Ronnie wants to talk for an hour and give him his own show, I can scatter this shit out throughout the entire year, you know.
Of course you can.
And hopefully make some good connections. I want to print some flyers out. I need to get onto that. That says about the show. And just...
Well, look, I mean, if BuzzFeed can do one interview and stretch out every single sound bite that they get out of that one interview into a month's worth of what they're calling news... So, you sit down with somebody and talk about their project, and every time they say something, that's the headline for tomorrow's piece, and then the next time is they say something, the next sentence is another headline, and you end up with a 5-minute interview where you could actually just spell everything out, except that it's content for an entire month.
I I don't
because you're not, and then you just write around that. So and that I find utter bullshit. But what you're talking about actually is content for a few months that's actually worth waiting for.
Yeah, I'm talking like 6-8 hours worth of
like
material, because I'm also
Yeah.
I'm also wanting to do a podcast, like record a podcast while I'm at Adepticon, like kidnap a room and tell a whole bunch of the people that tell everyone, hey, I'm going to be in this room at 6 o'clock and I'm going to be recording and probably, hopefully, live streaming out to like either Facebook or YouTube or possibly both, and just have everyone come and sit down and bullshit chat and be like, hey, what got you into this thing? And maybe once again download, have like a 4-hour long podcast where it's everybody from Adepticon coming in and talking. I'll have the Eddie with me, which has 360. I know it's not optimal, but it works. And just do a nice podcast while I'm at Adepticon, because I know Yeji's going to be there. Sinjin, I believe, is going to be there. Clint, I think, is going to be there. Plus, we've got Mark
and Jim's going to be
there.
there.
Yeah, Jim, of course. I mean, hell, for at least 1 or 2 days, if you're wanting to find me, just come over to Fort Wapple. That might be where I
was going to say. Ambush Fort Waffle for your headquarters.
Oh, I might. It'll probably be Jim and I sitting next to each other, and I'll have the laptop set up with the cameras, and I'll be switching to different cameras. And I've got multiple cameras now, so I'll have them bouncing back and forth and showing off Jim's work, showing off my work.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I also want to grow the UK team this year. We've got a fantastic core group, but sometimes there's only 1 or 2 of us, and as much as that's lovely that either Chloe and I will spend an evening chatting to each other, or Ian and I will be talking, or maybe 3 of us. I think we want more options. I think. There are loads of people who have things to say that would fit in with our weird little group.
Of course.
Of tea and crumpets, and that gives people the option to go to work or go and have a holiday and not feel guilty that that maybe they think they've let me down, which they haven't, because life happens. So yeah, I think this is, having done 13 episodes in the last 6 months. That's not too bad.
No, that's what it's supposed to be. And, maybe once me and you both get everything set up where we can record other people's audio on our own machines. Another thing we could do is do some one-on-ones. Like, you have someone over in the UK who's not part of Models Workshop but wants to talk. We can, bring them on the show and just do like little one-on, and they don't have to be anybody. They don't have to be a big name. It doesn't have to be Duncan. It could be Ralph from the corner who wants to talk about miniatures and he says good advice and just wants to bullshit for a bit, and bring people on like that.
Yeah.
And then, maybe look at the patrons, bringing them on and talking once every so often. And make it where all they have to do is call us on Skype. They don't have to worry about editing. They don't have to worry about installing anything. We've got everything handled. Just give us a call on Skype.
Yeah. And I've got it set up on mine that I can call, if it's a one-on-one, I can split me and the caller as 2 separate tracks.
And eventually I'll be able to do that here soon as well, where it will come in and it'll be run through my soundboard and all split and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it becomes a little harder when, if there are 2 people on the call, or 3 people on the call, for instance, because obviously I'll record my side of it, but then the other thing is the Skype call, and that is everything else. So if there are more than 1 person on that, then they all get lumped into one recording, and that's fine. I've used that, I think on episode 10 or 11, because something went wrong, and Chloe's audio was so quiet that I wasn't actually able to do anything with it, so I just used the Skype recording, and that worked fine. But sometimes Skype does this thing where it drops out.
Yeah, that is the downside to Skype.
Especially when especially when you've got more than, you've got a group of people chatting. That connection then starts degrading even more and more and more, and splitting your allotted bandwidth between 1,000 people or whatever it is that they want to do. So you end up with quite a shitty sounding audio stem. But yeah, for a one-on-one chat with designers, Joe Nobody from down the road, sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because there's no reason why everyone can't get their voice out. And also, honestly, it's mutually beneficial because it gives them somewhere to come on and just talk and just BS. Maybe we can have a couple different people join in. Maybe I can join in, and you can join in, and then they can join in. But also, whenever you're on something, think about it. They're going to be like, hey, you got to listen to this show. I was on it, and I talked, and yada, yada, yada. So it's mutually beneficial.
Absolutely.
Use me, and I will use you.
Yeah. Hey, we're all users. But even, you talk to somebody for 10, 15, 20 minutes. That doesn't have to be the show in total. You say thank you very much, and then save that recording, and then you talk to the next person 10, 15, 20 minutes. Stitch them together, you've got a 40-minute show. So, it could be what's his name, Conan O'Brien, Stephen Colbert, he has a guest come on every 5 minutes, they talk about the thing, they bugger off to do the next one. So you could actually just stitch guests together and have a 2-hour show of guests.
Right.
It could be the modelling talk show. I need a house band.
House band? Aren't you the music dude? Isn't that what your major is in?
If I'm talking, I can't be asked playing in. But yes, I'm the music dude. That's what I majored in. Who does anything with what they actually studied?
I studied from the School of Hard Knock Life, and I sure as fuck use it. Especially last year, I used it a lot.
That was a weird sound.
Didn't realize you heard that. That's my teammate's ringtone.
Ah, yes. That's what it was. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think what else we want to do this year with the UK Models Workshop stuff. I want to meet everybody.
Yes, I want to meet
in real life, because the UK isn't very big, so there's no reason why we shouldn't have already met. I mean, obviously Ian and I have met now when we went up to Telford for the Scale Model World show.
You should seriously get together and you should get together all together, like plan something, and all do it a one weekend by train.
Like we should go. We'll go to Nottingham to Warhammer World and go and sit in the bar at Bugman's and have a chat, stick a camera up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's
no reason we couldn't do that. We all enjoy a drink, and we all enjoy the miniatures, so that's quite a decent venue to do that. Just need to pry Chloe away from her work or her, the wedding that she's about to have.
Yeah, but that's in freaking Hawaii. I'd love to go myself. Aloha.
Yeah, I probably won't gate crash her party on that one, and maybe wait till she gets back from that.
You could probably get an invite just by asking. It's unless she wants to pay for me to fly to Hawaii, then I won't. I won't worry about that too much. Yeah.
I'll wave and wish her an aloha honeymoon.
there is that. That is a slight problem.
But then, 2019 is the year that all the money's going to roll in. Isn't that right?
What's that?
2019 is the year that all the money is going to come in.
Let's hope.
We're going to be like Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold. That's my plan. I don't know. It's as good a plan as our government has for leaving Europe. It's going to happen. We don't know how, but this is our plan. Is that we want it to happen. So if it's good enough for the UK government, that's good enough for me. This is the year I'm going to be rich.
All right, I think we need to wrap up. It is getting to the time that I actually have to get to work.
Fair enough.
It is 5 o'clock here, 5:15, and it's now pouring rain, so I get to go hook a trailer up in the pouring rain. Yay, go me. Woohoo!
Yeah. Well, that's what you got a teammate for, no? Tell him to get off his phone and go and do some work.
Maybe I should do that.
I'm sure he'll really appreciate that. I've been sitting here quietly while you're chatting your nonsense bloody podcast, and then you're telling me to go out in the fucking rain.
He has listened to the podcast. He knows what goes on. Lots of cussing and dick jokes. But, all right. I will talk to you the next time that we record. Everyone, thank you for joining us for the Models Workshop podcast and the After Hours UK podcast. If you want to find us on the socials, you can find me over on Twitter at NWH Podcast, and you can find Peter at
Mini Model Paint, and that's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook.
On mine, you can find it's Models Workshop on the YouTubes. You can find NWH Podcasts over on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook at The Models Workshop. And we have a miniature model paint discussion groups. Feel free to swing on by, ask questions, give feedback, kick back, give us some good jokes for the podcast. Maybe hit us up with a topic that you'd like to see us discuss or write an article about. And thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Bye-bye.